How's it going, everybody? Taiga here. Welcome. I got bad news. There's been more leaks. Let's have a look at them. Yo, how's it going? Future Taiga here. I recorded this video a couple times just trying to discuss everything, and in this particular iteration, I realized that I totally failed to really make clear that everything we're discussing here is purely speculation. These are not confirmed gameplay mechanics. This is just my interpretation of what we're seeing on these cards. And it's also possible that these cards are just going to look completely different and the gameplay mechanics are going to look completely different. I really do hope I'm wrong to some extent. I'm just kind of speculating based on what we have, but I just want to make it 100% clear that all of this is subject to change. It is entirely possible the finished game looks nothing like this, and I just want to cover my ass in the event that I'm completely wrong before I just totally embarrass myself. You know, it's possible that we're looking at like placeholder abilities, so please take everything in this video with a grain of salt. It's hard to even validate the authenticity of these leaks to begin with. So yeah, I just want to make that absolutely clear before you continue and watch the rest of the video. But regardless, enjoy. So, on Reddit this morning, about 6 hours ago, posted by Siamo Curious, while browsing the net, I came across this. Some cards are taken from the chaoticgame.com website. I don't know if this one has already been leaked, but here it is. Now, a lot of these cards, I'll preface right now, are ones we've already seen. File Driver, Armageddon, Hymn of the Elements, Maxor, Talking Up. Granted, these are a better look at those cards, like more high quality, but interestingly, 2 additional cards have been included in these leaks. So this time we have a look at a Danian and a look at a Mapedian, in this case, Giotto. There's also a lot of extra information on these cards, and it confirms some things that I was kind of worried about. To preface, originally, when we all saw Takinam, a lot of us kind of noticed that she only had 2 of her 4 disciplines printed onto the card. Now, some people wrote this off merely as just like a mistake, you know, AI, whatever, you know, maybe they just didn't notice. They're placeholders, right? So it's not final, blah, 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 blah. However, with the reveal of these other 2 cards, I think a lot of the cope that people were using to write off the implications of this change with, it kind of falls apart. So let's have a look at Giotto first. So as you can see, Giotto also only has 2 out of the 4 disciplines. And it's a different 2 out of 4 than Takinam had. So where Takinam had power and speed, Giotto has courage and wisdom. And likewise, Ibian has power and wisdom. Now, one important thing to note is that power and wisdom happen to be the original Ibian's 2 best stats on the original card. Likewise, Giotto, his 2 best stats also happen to be courage and wisdom. Likewise, if we look at Takinam, her 2 best stats were power by barely power by 5, and speed by a large margin at 90. Now, I don't know about you guys, that looks like a pattern to me. It looks like they're taking creatures' 2 best stats and giving them those disciplines, and then possibly giving them a flat number to just represent both disciplines. This is just speculation. Obviously, nothing confirmed, but that's what it looks to be. Now, notably, Maxor, we got a little better look at Maxor. This time, his stat element icons are colored in. Very cool. It helps a ton for readability, I must say. Still, UI looks... Don't get me started. Don't get me started in the UI. Don't get me started on the full arts. I'm not a fan. I still think it's very busy. It looks bad. But yeah, Maxor notably has all 4 disciplines. There's 2 possibilities. Either they just printed their 2 best disciplines on the lower tiered cards for fun with the intention to always give them all 4, or all 4 is going to be reserved for stronger cards, more iconic cards like Maxor, the ultra rares, for example, and the weaker cards are going to be kind of limited just to their previous 2. That's kind of what it looks like to me. I think it's going to be like it's going to kind of be like elements, you know, where a creature may or may not have all of the stats. You know, they might have 3 stats. They might have 4, they might have 1, they might have 2. Right now we're seeing a lot of twos, but the elements, they look very similar to the elements. And I don't think it's going to be a situation where like they're just going to print the number onto the stat later, because there's not much space for the stats to be printed onto them. Like, it looks identical to the element, right? There's only just enough space to fit the icon for the element there, and there's only just enough space to print the icon for the discipline. So that's kind of what it looks like to me. We also have an additional hint in the ability of Ibian. Hive, Ibian gains 10 CodeSum for each Mandalore you control. Now, if we look at the original Ibian's ability was activate Hive. Ibian gains 5 wisdom for each Mandalore you control. So it specifically specified like the wisdom stat that he was gaining in. Now this time, instead of specifying 1 stat, they're specifying CodeSum. And just based on some of the other leaks we've seen, this isn't the first time we've heard the keyword CodeSum come up. I fully believe CodeSum to refer to this little number in the corner right here. It's possible it also refers to this little number in the corner, but I'm pretty sure that's energy. And it would be weird to have like CodeSum be not right next to the disciplines at the very least. Hopefully they were smart enough to at least do that. Whatever. Either way, it's the same number, so we're gonna treat it as if it's 70. So it looks like, to me, what they're doing, speculation, is kind of turning disciplines into elements, in the sense that it's just like on off, you either have the discipline or you don't. But instead of having variables in each stat, and by variables I don't mean randomized stats, I mean like instead of having, you know, 100 courage and 35 wisdom and 45 power and 67 and 67 speed, it looks like you're just getting one flat number across the board. So in this case, that number is 70. So again, speculation, Ibian would have 70 in the two stats that he possesses, which in this case is power and wisdom. Likewise, if we look at Giotto, so he would have 60 in his courage and wisdom, right? Takinam would have 90 in power and speed, and Maxor would have 100 in all four, kind of like Heptad, but for stats. Now it's possible and probable, I think, that a lot of the ultras, like I assume KR would also get all four stats, you know? If I am correct in what I'm assuming they're doing, I believe this to be a mistake. Not in the sense that the game can't be playable with this new change, but just in the sense that it is objectively a less complex and, in my opinion, just flat out worse system than what it was previously. I don't see any reason we can't just have four stats and an individual value for each stat. It gave the creatures flavor. It was interesting having a creature be really good at one thing, or maybe even two things, and then really bad at like another stat, and then maybe kind of just mid in something, you know? It didn't just play into the gameplay, it was also a part of the lore and storytelling of that creature. You learned a lot about the creature and who they were and what they do and what they're good at by seeing what they were bad at. And I guess you still kind of get to see what they're bad at, in the sense that like Takinam, I guess, just has 0 courage and 0 wisdom. She's just a dumb, cowardly bitch, I guess. I don't know what to say. With no foot, no less. It's so sad. I don't know. I think this is objectively like a less interesting system, in my opinion. One other interesting thing I did notice, though, if we look at these cards, especially Giotto has common 3 below his name. And if we look at Armageddon has Ultra 3. Some of them don't have anything, so I'm not sure like what this 3 stands for. Is it like an army cost thing? It's possible it could be. I don't know. It's just there. I'm not gonna speculate. I genuinely have no idea. It could be like a build point cost thing. I think that'd be crazy, I guess. I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's getting harder and harder to defend each change they make for this game, because with every change on top of the last one, like, you know, I think you can justify a few things being different here and there, but like with every new change, it just gets to the point where it's not the same game anymore. And, you know, that's fine, ultimately. I mean, it's not fine. I'm very disappointed. I'm not gonna say it's fine, right? I'm so upset that we're not getting the same game back. I just am. Will I get over it eventually? Probably. But right now, I'm upset. But anyway, one more thing that I kind of wanted to point out with this CodeSum thing, and this is something that I think is very interesting. So originally, when I looked at Maxor and Takinam, at first I thought that they were just doubling the energy of everything, because Maxor's base average energy from Dawn of Param was 40, and then her new version has 80. Likewise, Maxor's base average energy from Dawn of Param was 60, and then his new version has 120. So when I first saw these two cards, I was like, are they just like doubling everything for real? That's so lame. But interestingly, Giada, for example, his original energy is actually 30. So I guess in this case, they did just double him to 60. So this is kind of like, at first I was a little worried. It's like, oh my god, are they still just doubling it? But then I had to look at Ibian. His base energy is just 50. And in this version, they're showing a 70. So at least it looks like they're not just doubling everything. However, the balance as of right now seems way out of whack, in my opinion. I don't know. Like, obviously, we'll have to just get our hands on the game to really see for ourselves how well it plays, if it plays well at all. But right now, like, it just seems all over the place. I don't know. We'll see. Ultimately, the only thing we have to compare it to is, like, the old game. So I'm going to do that. But this looks just to be a completely different ballpark. And it's really hard to quantify what cards are going to be good, what cards are going to be bad. But another thing I did want to mention, though, is it looks like, and this is just pure speculation, I only have 4 cards to work off of, right? But it looks like they're kind of just rounding everything out to intervals of 100, like 10, and they're getting rid of any variables of 5. And the reason I say that is because Maxor, his best stat as an average in the original game was 100. And that happens to be the CodeSum that they printed here. I'm assuming this is the CodeSum. Bear with me. So it looks like they just gave that to him for his CodeSum and made it 100, right? For Takinam, her best stat in the original game was her speed, and it happened to be 90 average. And look at that, the 90 is printed there in the corner. I believe that to be the CodeSum. Likewise, Giada's best stat in the original game, as we just compared, it was 60 courage and 60 power. So it looks like they just kept that for the CodeSum. I don't know if we, like, I think you would bump that up. Am I crazy? I don't know. Like, again, we'll just have to get our hands on the game and see. But, like, it feels weird to keep some of these values from Dawn of Param when they were already so bad to begin with. But yeah, he just gets to keep his 60 courage and 60 wisdom. And now, instead of having 55 speed and 45 power, he just gets 0 in those stats, I guess, because he doesn't have them. Like, if anything, he got nerfed. I don't know. Like, am I crazy? So he keeps the 60, right? So again, intervals of 10. Now, for Ibian, you might notice he's got a 70. If we look at original Ibian, his best stat in the original game was 65 wisdom. So I think it's very interesting that instead of just giving him the 65 for his CodeSum, they bumped it up to 70 and then bumped his energy up to 70 to match. I think it's very interesting. And that shows me, and again, no proof, we'll have to see every single card in the game to confirm this, right? But it looks like they might be just eliminating variables of 10. like across the board, or 5 rather, across the board, and they're just making everything in intervals of 10. That's what it looks like. That's what it feels like. Obviously, I can't comment one way or the other or whether or not that's a good decision, but just for me personally, I think there was a lot more flavor in having like 5, 10, 15, 20 in the game. Granted, I also thought there was a lot more flavor in having all 4 stat disciplines in the game, so what do I know at this point? One more thing to mention, just with these cards we've seen, Giada has like a little 10 here, surrounded in a spiky little circle. That spiky little circle is the same one they show on Armageddon. It's like the attack card icon. What does this mean? I don't know. I don't know. At first I thought like maybe it just means strike, but now I don't know. Maybe they're reworking strike. What if like you can not play an attack for a turn and then just have it do 10 damage? Like I don't know. I don't know. Like it could be anything at this point. I'll speculate when there's like enough information for me to get a good guess in. I literally have no idea what this could mean. It's just another symbol, just another thing on the card that we're gonna have to figure out and wait for more information eventually. But anyway, yeah, guys, these are the leaks. How do you feel about them? I know for me personally, it's looking less and less like chaotic by the day. At this point, like this doesn't match the show in any capacity. These are just 2 different rule sets. These are just 2 different games. The card art's the same, except it's cropped worse. Yeah, I don't know. How do you feel about it? Leave a comment in the comments. Let me know. I'm curious to hear. I love discussing this stuff. I love speculation. Thank you for watching, and yeah.